Good morning. This is Ellen Stevens Newton with Relatively Speaking, and my guests today are Lucy and Butch Cressey, and his father's family came from the Bath area, but has quite a history here in town, and his mom was a Pinkham, so there's lots to talk about today, and we have some surprises for them, and I'm really looking forward to today. So welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So the first thing I'd like to talk about is your dad, and I'd like to have you talk about him and his career as a lighthouse keeper in the region. Apparently he's been a lighthouse keeper to every lighthouse that I've known. So
and then some.
Absolutely.
That's the picture. Yeah, I'll do it this way so you can see. This is one of our favorite pictures of Butch's father, and that was him changing the light bulb on Seguin in, I'm not sure the year, but he was so short he had to stand on a stool in order to reach the lamp to change the bulb. Yeah, and we have this in an 8x10, but I can't find it. But thankfully, I made pictures of it before it disappeared. Right. And that's one of my favorite pictures of him. And the facial structures, he did inherit. His younger half-brother is like a walking reincarnation of your dad. He looks so strongly of his father.
How tall was he in the file that you found?
5'3". And then one year they gave him the benefit of the quarter and made him 5'6".
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
So his dad, he was Harry Leighton Cressey, thus your name, Leighton Cressey. And he was born in Portland in 1925. And his grandmother, or his mother, was a Leighton, thus your name, Leighton. So they've been pretty easy to trace, but when did he, how did he and your mom get together?
He was living here in town.
Living here in town, yeah?
Yeah, they were in school together, I think.
Okay, okay.
He was living with the Lewises. Yeah.
Okay.
In the 40 census, I found him here.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
okay. And so, do you know, can you tell us about the first lighthouse that he took care of?
That would be you.
I see. The first thing he did was when he joined up, he ended up going to the Philippines.
And the Pacific, yeah.
Come home with the ribbons and medals and stuff, because he, you know, when it's a Coast Guard, you're in the Philippines, right? But that's who took the soldiers ashore, was the Coast Guard.
Exactly.
The Navy floated them all over the world, but when it come time to go ashore, the Coast Guard was running the boats.
Yeah.
So he did that, and then when he come back, I believe he ended up on Governor's Island for a while, and then somewhere else. Then he got back here, and he was doing a split duty between Seguin and the Popham Beach station.
Yep.
Really?
Seguin was the lighthouse and Popham Beach was a rescue station.
Right.
And he was involved trying to find a sailboat one time that disappeared. I don't think they ever did find it, but he said we were doing all kinds of stuff, like going out where they'd seen it, and then you shut the boat off and drift around to see if you could figure out which way the boat might have gone.
Right.
Because you get some places where your rivers come down and everything, and it's really weird where the water goes.
Yeah, that rescue station was at the mouth of the Kennebec.
Yeah.
And that's pretty rough water in there. When the Kennebec starts to empty, it's pretty rough
I know
water.
all about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
From fishing, yeah.
Absolutely.
In his military papers, his first lifeboat station, which is what you're referring to, was the Merrimack.
Okay.
Yeah, when he came back from the Pacific.
The Merrimack River.
The Merrimack River Lifeboat Station was his first.
Huh.
Yeah, And that will explain his connection with Newburyport, where your mom died, because he was in Massachusetts. Because he enlisted in Portland, did the Pacific, and then when the war was over, came back, and he became a reserve. He was Coast Guard Reserve.
Wow.
And then he did Korea, too. He's got a medal for Korea as well.
What medals did he end up with?
He had American Area Campaign Medal ribbon, the Asiatic Pacific Area Campaign Medal ribbon with 3 stars, the Philippine Liberation Medal ribbon with 2 stars, a World War II Victory Medal ribbon, and a converted citation, or Cition.
Huh.
I don't know what that is. If it's like misspelled citation or
Yeah,
what.
probably.
Yeah.
Huh.
But it was funny because I found his discharge records and that listed all the ribbons, and I was like, oh. And I wondered, because I asked Butch, I said, was your dad cremated in his military uniform? And he was never told.
Oh,
Yeah, so we're not sure what happened to the ribbons and stuff.
you're right. So, this little 5'5" fella,
Yay.
born in Portland, made it to Boothbay, went through the local schools, and ended up traveling all over the world,
Oh, yeah.
saving people.
Yeah.
Amazing.
One of the last 2 things he did, 3 things, he was on the east wind,
Uh-huh.
where you go down south and break ice so they can go around the end of South America.
Yeah.
Because by doing that, they go over the Fiji Islands and stop on the way home.
So you may have cousins
Yeah, you never know.
in the Fiji Islands.
If you knew the old man, yeah. He hit the Portland Light Station, and what was the other one? Oh, they threw him on Halfway Rock for a while.
Wow.
I think they were ugly because they lost track of him. Because usually you don't spend a whole bunch of time ashore.
Right,
You know, they've got these cruisers all over the world.
right.
But he, between Seguin and the Cuckles and somewhere else, he spent almost a dozen years without leaving the harbor, actually.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, oh, you know, all of a sudden they went, wait a minute, this guy's been in for 12, 14 years. He hasn't been on a boat in a long time.
Isn't that?
And they sent him on the Eastman the first time. The second time, he'd taken his tests, and he had the highest grade of anybody that took the test for an engineer first.
Wow.
But they didn't send the results till after the boat had left. So he had, you know, the Eastman already had a first-class engineers. So by holding the paper back, the old man could have said, oh, they've got one, I'll do something else. They sent him down for the second year in a row. Hey, you know.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh, they was, you know, I guess the military can be sneaky.
Yeah.
When he went to get out, it was July 1st in '65, right after I graduated. He goes up to Pearl Street Station in South Portland, and they said, there's your papers, Harry. And he grabbed a pen and he went, no, I want the one that says out, not the one that says Vietnam. They were hoping he'd sign the paper to re-up, and then he said, no,
Wow.
22 and a half is enough. I'm going home.
Yeah.
Amazing. He had a tremendously long career.
Yeah.
So let's go back to Massachusetts. At that time, when he was stationed on the Merrimack River, you were living in Newburyport, correct?
Yeah. That's where your mom died.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was an apartment.
Yep.
So you were in an apartment, and there was a problem with the stove?
That's what happened, from what I was told.
Yeah?
I even met one of the guys that went over and found him one time.
Yeah. The story that was told, and is also his grandmother, who adopted him, had a baby book, and she wrote a note about what happened to his mom. But apparently the apartment was heated with coal and it malfunctioned. And they didn't have CO2 monitors back then. She had passed. Harry was trying to get to the stove. They found him passed out on the floor. And they figured the only reason, he was in the hospital for 5 days, the baby book said. And then he was in the hospital for 2 days. And this was in December. And then they ended up showing that he came up and his grandparents, Nancy's mom and dad, Ruby and Elmer, legally adopted him because the war was going on.
Right.
And Harry couldn't take care of him.
Right.
So fortunately for him, he was raised by Ruby and Elmer.
And came to Boothbay, where you belonged.
Where he belonged.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, he was born here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Came home.
Yep.
So, Ruby and Ruby Inez, sorry. She was a stover.
Yep.
So there's 1 or 2 relations on the stover side here in town for you.
God, yeah.
And probably 500 or 600 Pinkhams that you're related to.
A few.
So your dad came home after the war, and by then you were graduated from high school? Or just graduating from high school?
When Harry got out.
That's when he got out.
Yeah. And so your life was taking off, and so you didn't get to spend a lot of time with him.
No.
And he ended up living in Bath. Was he living in Bath? Yeah. And so he was murdered.
Yeah.
And was he just in the store, or was he taking care of the store?
He was the manager.
It was a filling station.
Okay.
Was it BP?
And he ran it. It was across the road from the old
Talk high, louder.
up in Bath is on across the road from. Yep, never mind.
The North Road, wasn't it?
Yeah, and and he was staying out back at night because he was in the process of divorcing. So he slept out back and then woke up in the morning and ran the store all day.
Making ends meet.
Yep.
And so they found the man who murdered him.
His last name was Ryder. Yep.
Yep.
Huh.
They found the weapon.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've got all the. I'll reacquaint you if you want, but yeah, he admitted from the police that were transporting him from Bath to the state police for his interview and his intake, whatever they call that. But he gave a full disclosure of what he did.
Yeah.
And he brought a bottle of whiskey to the station with the hopes of, it was quote unquote a peace meeting, because supposedly this Mr. Ryder was afraid for his stepmother, Beverly, or Harry's 4th wife, and children. And there's a lot of going back and forth, but ultimately what happened is the man shot Harry 4 times and said it was in self-defense. And the judge said, no, I feel that this was murder, but the jury has selected to do manslaughter. And he did 9.5 years for killing Harry. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And that was like the first murder in Bath for how long?
First in like 10, 15 years.
Huh.
But one of the things the lawyer brought out was that supposedly it was kind of difficult to be nervous about some guy trying to beat on you if his mouth was full of a sandwich he was eating.
Right. Yeah.
And the other thing is supposedly Harry showed up where Beverly and the kids were, and supposedly he had a shotgun. They never did find a shotgun.
Right. That
Either
was the
there
story.
or, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So.
Well, what a tragedy.
It is.
Absolute tragedy.
He was how old? 40 what? 2? You do the math.
When was he born? 29?
25.
25? 47.
He was
Yeah, he
47.
died in 72.
Yeah.
So he would have been 47.
Yeah. Wow. What a tragedy. So, on your mom's side of the family, the Pinkhams, we have you have a few aunts and uncles, and are they all? Are their families all still here in town?
Parts of them. Ellen's up in Waterville now.
Yeah, and I think Scott's.
Scotty's between here and where the hell. He's a pilot for United, I think.
Owen and Judy's children.
Uh-huh. Owen and Judy Pinkham,
Yeah.
Right.
and she ran the daycare center
Yep.
that everybody who was anybody went to. And Leroy is an
Yeah.
uncle.
Yeah, that's the house I live in.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
He and Gert built, and
And Gert, what was her maiden name?
Waltz. She was one of 8 or 10 up in Damascus.
The Damascotta Waltz family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Roger?
Roger and Joan. Roger was married 4 times. Joni was his last wife. She was a Hardwick.
Mm-hmm.
And their daughter was Jennifer.
She's still
And
here.
she's in town. She came back.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So
Freddie
Roy
and
Gert-
Stella had Mike and Anita. Anita died, but Mike and his family is still here.
They're across the street from Jen, which is ironic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Freddie, Stella, Owen. That's it.
Yeah. And Sherry.
And Terry's back in town.
Yeah. Terry and Sherry are here.
Uh-huh.
Kilo's still here.
And Kilo's still here. And I think Kilo's still fishing.
I don't know. All of Roy's kids are still here.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
So the family, when you're the genealogist in the family, you're the gatherer and collector of info on dead people.
She knows more than I do.
Yeah. So tell me, how long have you been doing it?
I started when I was 17. Mm-hmm. My dad found out that my dad was born and raised in Dorchester, Massachusetts. When he married my mother was blue blood. Mm-hmm. And she was disowned because she married beneath herself.
Uh-huh.
And when his mother was dying, she looked at my dad and said, "You need to find out where you came from, because you are more entitled to titles than your wife." And that's when he found out that he was a descendant from the Mayflower, and a revolutionist, sons of the American Revolution and everything else. So he and I would schlep
Yeah.
in Rhode Island. We'd go up and check cemeteries and do the charcoal rubbings and go through the town offices and the historical societies and get the family histories and stuff. And he got me started. Mm-hmm. And it was very hard and tedious back then. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of took a break when I met this guy, and we had our family. And we were over in, was it when we went to England, or was it beforehand that I got in? It was Mummy. My mother was adopted. And when the state of Maine opened up the birth records, where when you were adopted, you could get your birth records. Mm-hmm. My mother had passed, and I wanted to know, because I knew she was born in Portland Hospital, I wanted to know who her parents were, because she never wanted to know.
Yeah.
But I did. And we went, because we also wanted to find out about Harry
Yeah.
and see if there were any records on Harry. So he and I went up to the Vital Records office, and that's all she wrote. That's all. I got started again. I started doing research on my mom. I did his research, and I haven't stopped since.
Yeah.
He used to find me when we had our computer out in the kitchen, asleep on the desk from where I fell asleep at night doing research.
Plus, we got a letter from my father's mother.
Oh, yeah.
Came from the lawyer.
Huh.
That said Minnie such and such had died. And I'm going, who's that?
Askar, Askar. She remarried. Yeah.
And we found out from the lawyer that she had paid attention. She knew where I went to school, knew that I'd graduated, been married, da-da-da-da-da. Other than that, I don't know if I ever saw the woman in my life.
Huh.
And he just wanted, she said, let him know that I've gone.
Isn't that something?
So there's a family out there that's related, but I have no idea.
Yeah.
She had no children with the second husband.
Oh, she didn't?
No, not at all. They married later. Remember I told you I found
that's
out?
right.
They married, it was like 1967 when they got married.
Yeah.
And she was like in her 50s. And they were down in Portland, and he was like, I think he sold tires, or he owned the company, or he had children from another marriage.
Isn't that incredible that that woman, probably because Harry was dead, had no way to contact you, or didn't know if, you know, she would be welcome into your life.
Yeah, you don't know.
You have no idea, but
No.
I hope that you take heart in the fact that she remembered you and thought about you all of that
As if
time.
You know, it's like, wow,
Yeah.
why didn't you say hi?
Yeah, exactly.
She didn't want to rock the boat.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And from everything that happened when he was a baby, and there was so much acrimony, I think she wanted to leave still waters lie.
Yeah, probably. So with the Pinkham family,
Is this where we do a drum roll?
yeah, it's in doing my family history and in doing other family histories from the region, I keep finding these wonderful stories. And when I started to concentrate on your Pinkham family, all of a sudden I recognized names. So I have a little story to tell you about your 8th or 7th great-grandmother.
Oh.
And she is a sister to my 7th great-grandmother.
Oh.
We're related.
Absolutely.
Cool beans.
So anyway, this is a wonderful story about the Pinkham family that originated in the United States, in Dover, New Hampshire. And at the time, Dover, New Hampshire was called Cohico.
Yeah.
And in June 27th and 28th in 1689. Now you got to remember what things were like in 1689 in Dover, New Hampshire. On the night of the 27th, the Abenaki Indians sent 2 young girls to each of the 7 houses in Dover. And the 3 houses that took them in one was the Waldron house, the other was the Otis house, and the third was the Hurd house. And during the night, these young girls got up and opened the doors and unlocked the gates so that these warriors could get in. And so thus was the Cohico massacre in Dover. So they got in, and there were a lot of people were killed, and the Otis family was probably the single family that was most affected. They lost children. There are some really sad stories, but Richard Otis, who was the father, he married 4 times. So this seems to be a pattern in the family. But anyway, he married 4 times. His first wife, and the only one, or the majority of the children were his. He ended up. His family was the one that was most affected, but his son, John, are we on? Okay, so John Albert Pinkham was born in 1644, and he married Martha Rose Otis, and he was he was not married at the time of this or he was married at the time of this. He married in 1674. Richard Pinkham and his wife, Richard Pinkham II. He ended up, he was the father of John Albert Pinkham, and John Albert Pinkham and Rose Otis were married, but Rose Otis was actually the daughter of Richard Otis and Rose Stoughton. So Richard Otis and Rose were involved in this massacre, and he was 64 at the time of the massacre, and Richard was killed in the attack. His second wife, his fourth wife was living with him at the time. His son and his wife Rose Stoughton, they escaped in the '89 attack unharmed, but on the second attack in Dover on the 26th, when they were returning from church, he was killed. Mm. His daughter, Martha Rose was born in 1654, and she was 35 at the time she was captured, and she, with her sisters and sisters, were taken from Dover all the way to Quebec.
Wow.
And it's 365 miles from Dover to Quebec.
Holy crap.
And they didn't get on the bus.
They walked.
They didn't fly. They dragged those kids and those women all the way to Quebec. And what happened was the Indians, when they would do raids and they would capture people, they would split up so that at least one of the parties, of how many, would at least get back to the tribe. And so they split up. So a small group of men got together and said, we're going to go after these people. One of those men was your ancestor, John Pinkham. Huh. And John Pinkham ended up marrying Martha Otis, who was one of the women that he saved.
That's pretty cool.
So Martha had a sister named Judith, and she was 25 at the time. And she was also taken captive and went to Canada, but she was rescued as well, and she ended up being brought back and married John Tuttle, and that's on my mother's side of the family. Yeah. And then the youngest of those girls, Rose, she was taken to, is this an interesting story, she was taken to Quebec, but she stayed. But at the time she was 22, but she ended up staying. So one of those three girls, their stepmother was also captured at the same time, and her name was Grizzle Warren, which I thought is an appropriate name for this old brag, but anyway. She was the third wife of Richard and was captured and taken to Canada. She was baptized in Montreal, and her name was changed to Madeline Hotez, or Hotese, in 1693, and she married in a Philippe Robitaille, and they had 5 more children. She died in 1750 in Quebec. Oh. She never came back to New England, and most of the captives were converted to Catholicism at that time, and the church was very, they were a very strong entity, and they controlled if these people would ever be allowed to leave Quebec, even though they were no longer in the hands of the Indians. Mm-hmm. A lot of them never returned to the country because the church wouldn't let them. So she ended up liking living in the city instead of in the frontier. And she became accustomed to living in the city of Montreal. And she is quoted as saying to one of the girls who wanted to return later in life to this country, she said, "What do you know about living off the land, making butter, and caring for chickens?" And all of those things were free and easy for her in Montreal, and so she decided to stay.
Wasn't it pretty common? Because I did some research for someone whose descendant she was descended from. Same thing happened, but only instead of being New Hampshire, it was in Massachusetts. And the same thing, the Indians did the splitting off, and weren't they sold or weren't they bartered for with furs and stuff with the traders?
A lot of them on the East Coast, and I'm sure that happened, but a lot of them on the East Coast, they were found, and I'm sure that they were bartered or lost on the way, whatever. But a lot of them in the West, that was, I mean, nobody had money in the West. They were all transient in that time, and they were sold off. And but a lot of them were kept as slaves.
Yeah.
And they spent their entire lives as slaves. So anyway, I thought it was very interesting that you and I
Our cousins.
yeah, I mean, your father in Portland, born in Portland, your mom here, my parents born in Rumford and in Phippsburg, and we all, when we funnel it all down, so there are...
A melting pot.
And actually, in doing your research, there are other people that you and I share as common ancestors.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, so but I find it fascinating. So when I get ready to throw a pity party and feel sorry for myself, I have to stop and remember that I didn't have to walk to Quebec from Dover under hostile conditions, and
I can't even imagine.
And I made it. So
yeah, that's a pretty cool story.
Anyway, I have a copy of it for you, but
good.
It's fascinating to me, the things that happen and that we see. So,
That's neat.
yeah, it is. I'm thrilled. So I want to thank you guys for coming on the show. I'm delighted. Go ahead.
My Uncle Roy was telling me that when they were stationed down in Massachusetts, the old man was somewhat of a wild man when he got behind the wheel in a car.
Oh yeah.
He could go from here to Boston in 3 hours, but we were talking Route 1.
Right.
They hadn't built the turnpike
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
And he used to scare my mother so much I wasn't sure she's going to make full term with me or not. He'd give us such a ride down. But Roy said one time they're going down the road and he went to pass a car that got caught in a snow rut. And he said he kept right on going at whatever speed he had, never slowed down, on the wrong side of the road for the next 5 miles where he could get back over where he belonged, but just kept... so it's
Yeah.
The newest thing, I think you've probably seen it too, is with all entities being digitized now, a lot of the newspapers stories that people had clippings for are now out there. And one of the things that I found recently about his father was that he got pulled over for speeding. And I think it was like criminal
Speed, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, was that the one where he had his new car?
Yeah.
He's trying it out.
Yeah.
He's coming back from Boston, right? Down there somewhere, and he's coming back, and they said, how does this thing go, Harry? And he goes, pretty good. And he says, well, you're going to show us? He says, look, guys, I'm driving on a red license now. He's been picked up so many times. And the guy's, come on. He says, he kicked that thing off, and he's going down the road, and he sees this set of lights going behind him. So he slows right down to the speed limit. The guy comes up, puts the lights on, writes him up for 115 or 20. And the old man talking, he just, he says, I'm trying to get home to my wife, and I got da-da-da-da-da, and the guy goes, okay. So he writes him out another one for like 105. And finally he writes him out one for like 90. Because back in those days, the turnpike was 70, so, it wasn't that
Right.
bad. And he says, okay, put that in your pocket. He says, how fast were you going? And the old man looked at the cop and he says, she was doing around 125. And the cop says, I was doing 130 and I wouldn't have caught you if you hadn't have slowed down.
He had a lead foot.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was a wild man behind the wheel.
Yeah. Well, I can't thank you guys enough for coming on the show. This has been fabulous, and I hope we get together again and again and again, because there's lots of little stories to fill in, names and dates. And so I'd like to encourage anybody that's watching this show, if you're a Pinkham, please get in touch with me if you're interested in your family or any of the related families to the Pinkhams, because we have the information and you never know what kind of stories you're going to find out about your ancestors. So this is Ellen Newton signing off from Relatively Speaking, and hopefully we'll see you again in another show. Thanks.